The SNS office has been receiving calls and emails from interested hunters that have been hearing rumors about changes going on with how the Wyoming Game and Fish manages license sales for non-resident hunters. SNS outfitter Cy Gilliland has been actively involved in shaping legislation pertaining to these issues. As an appointed member of the Wildlife Task Force, he has the inside scoop. So rather than trying to explain these issues one phone call at a time, we thought it best to sit down with Cy and hear it directly from him to help set the record straight. Cy, thank you for taking the time to address these questions. I wanted to begin with the possible changes to how Wyoming conducts its license draws in relation to preference points. Could you explain exactly what is going on in regards to preference points in the state of Wyoming?
So Wyoming offers non-resident hunters the opportunity to buy one preference point per year. The species the Wyoming Game and Fish Department offers points to be bought are bighorn sheep, moose, elk, deer, and antelope. Each point sells for a different amount, and these amounts are set by the Wyoming Game and Fish Department Commission. The ceiling price is actually set by the state legislature. The demand to buy these points has been very high and amounts to over $23 million each year to the Wyoming Game and Fish Department budget from non-resident points only. So the Wyoming Wildlife Task Force studied the issue of preference points in relation to bighorn sheep and moose. During the process, the issue was dissected, it was vetted. We received and read thousands of comments from the public, both residents and non-residents, and during that it became really obvious that the current system in relation to sheep and moose is broken. So the task force put forth to the Wyoming legislature to change from a preference point system to a weighted bonus point system. The bill that was drafted and put forth to the legislature only affected bighorn sheep and moose, and that's really important because there's a lot of rumors out there amongst the hunting public that was going to affect everything. The task force never considered any changes to the preference point system in regards to elk, deer, and antelope. The bill that was drafted was defeated by the state legislature, but most likely will come back in a future session. At this time, no changes to any of Wyoming's preference point systems for either residents or non-residents have been changed.
Another topic that we're receiving plenty of questions about is non-resident license fees. Could you clarify how Wyoming's license system for elk, deer, and antelope works? And if you'd give us a little insight on the history of that system too.
So Wyoming's two-tiered license system that we currently have in place for elk, deer, and antelope was passed by the state's legislature in 1988, with the first special licenses actually being sold in 1989. The special license was the idea of the outfitting industry, and the industry supported it and worked hard to lobby our legislators to pass the bill. I was 35 years old at the time, and it was my first real introduction into the workings of the state legislature and how to lobby and pass legislation. It was a great learning experience. So prior to 1988, all of Wyoming's non-resident licenses were sold in a purely random draw. This type of system proved to be very chaotic and caused wild swings in draw results for outfitters, and was certainly no way to operate a stable outfitting business. Wyoming politics were just not going to allow a pure outfitter-only draw, so at the time this was our next best option. So charging more for the same license did give much better draw odds for those clients that choose to pay the extra fee. The system worked well, but then another license fee would need to be instituted again to again give those clients willing to use the special license better draw odds. The system was helped when Wyoming started selling preference points in 2007 for elk, deer, and antelope. Preference points, in conjunction with the two-tiered license system, has certainly helped to create better draw odds.
How did the bill raising the special license fees come about?
The Wyoming legislature, Game and Fish Commission, and the governor created what they called the Wyoming Wildlife Task Force, and our charge was to study wildlife issues and licensing issues, which we spent 2 years doing. One very important idea studied by the task force was to create an outfitter-only draw. The idea of an outfitter-only draw was studied in depth by the task force, and ultimately it just didn't have the support as a viable alternative. The task force recognized very early in the process the significant financial contribution to Wyoming's tourism industry by outfitted non-residents. We have also seen a huge increase in demand for Wyoming's limited non-resident licenses. The best example is our Game and Fish Department has received over 30,000 applications in the last 2 years for non-resident elk licenses, and they only issue a total of 7,250 full-price licenses. This increase in applications has caused significantly harder draws. The difference between the special license fees and the regular license fees just wasn't enough. The large volume of non-resident applicants also, in my opinion, speaks volumes about the quality of Wyoming's hunting, and especially our elk hunting, and that our licenses are underpriced. In any business, if you're turning away 75% of your potential customers, it's obvious your product is severely underpriced. The bill recently passed by the legislature was put forth and supported by the task force by what was known as a supermajority vote of 16-1. The regular license fee, which is 60% of the available quota, does not go up, thus widening the gap between the special and the regular license fees. Our logic was a wide gap between the two types of licenses would certainly benefit the outfitted client willing to pay much higher license fees for better draw odds.
When is the license fee increase changing?
House Bill 200, which significantly increases the cost of the special licenses, has been signed into law by the governor. The new fees for the special license will go into effect for the 2024 licensing season. Nothing will be affected in 2023.
Si, is there anything else that you'd like SNS clients to know about this subject?
I'd like to recognize this increase in license fees as an additional cost to the hunt and our hunters. We will, of course, work with our clients closely so they fully understand their options in regards to accumulating preference points and whether or not they should use the special or the regular license when we make their application to the Game and Fish Department. I want our clients to be informed and make the best possible decisions so that they have the best possible draw odds for their hunt.
I'd like to thank Si for taking the time to help answer these concerns for our clients. And to you, the viewers, we would like to thank you for your interest in this topic. It certainly is an important and impactful one. Should you find yourself with any unanswered questions, please contact our office. And lastly, a big shout out to the Werner Wildlife Museum for allowing us to film here and showcase these beautiful displays.